everyone. Welcome to this edition of Monday's The Lightgate on August the 8th, 2024. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in the beautiful state of Louisiana. We're coming from the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku, Facebook, and YouTube. We're around the world. We have many people listening to us. If you're on Roku, I'm sorry you can't see our pictures, but if we put them up, we will describe them beautifully so that you can get a mental image of it. We have a wonderful guest tonight, and I'm very excited about this. Debz Shakti is a wonderful person, and I love her very much. I don't think she knows that yet, but yes. And I want to just swing out to Preston now. Hey, Preston.
I can see Debz smiling in the green room. So yes, thank you, Dolly. Thank you guys for joining us on this is episode 67 of The Lightgate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett, and my lovely co-host is, of course, Dolly Saffron, subject of my book, Symmetry. And as you all know, probably, if you've been watching the show, we are doing interviews to work on a sequel for the book. It's slow going because we're both quite busy. That's okay. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, super excited about tonight's guest. I have been wanting to have her on for quite a while, so it's a true honor. And we'll bring her on shortly. But I love to say hi to all you guys in chat because it's because of you, of course, that we do this show. We love doing it. We're having so much fun. We're learning so much, getting to meet all kinds of people. But it's all about interacting with you guys, spreading the word of love and light and truth and all things good. So let's see who we have in chat today. It looks like Brian Morgan is first in line. Hello, Brian. But look, got quite a crowd here already. Growing fast. So thank you guys for joining us. Hi, Penny. Thank you very much. Oh, AKA Penny Rummel. Ah, nice. Thank you, Penny. And Alistar, one. Greetings from California. Hope those fires calm down soon. So, yikes. Hi, Susan. Always awesome to see you here. Love you so much. Hope you're doing well. And who else do we got here? Namaste. What can I say, Namaste, except I love you. Thank you for your wonderful generosity. You have our endless gratitude. I think you're just so wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you a million times. It's always brings a smile to my face to see you here. And I love it. Thank you. And we have Sunny Burnett. Says, hello, Preston and Dolly. Another good show. Yes, I think so. And I'm bringing up Susan Alloway. My favorite, Debz. Yes. We're going to have so much fun. Hi, Rat Food. Here we are again. Yes, we are. Becky Duncan. Hello, beautiful peeps. Yes, you guys are all very beautiful. David, hello. Alan Rosser, give him hell. You bet I will. Why not? Tim Alvarado, hello from Union, Michigan. I'm going to have to check that out on my UFOs in Your Hometown series. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm putting out a whole new series on my YouTube channel, UFOs in Your Hometown. Send me your hometown. I'll look it up and see if there are UFO encounters there, because there are pretty much everywhere UFOs are seen. Okay, who else we got? Star Orchid. Much love and generosity to you too.
Oh, thank you.
Star Orchid, very kind of you, super generous. Thank you so much. You guys, it helps a lot, these super chat donations. So thank you, Star Orchid. I really appreciate it. And who else do we got here? Jessica. Hi, Kaj. Thank you for being here. And Josh Burns. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And Junior Amadeus Schiffer. Dana Matthews. Hello. Painting the Sky Kingdom. You guys, quite a crowd here. Debz, looks like you're very popular. We've got a little bit more people here than normal. I don't know if I'm able to say hi to all of you guys, but I'm going to give it a real quick try. Mr. Saturn 1, hello. And XICJ, Sector 31. Oh, Dane, miss you, Preston and Dolly. We're here. So it's nice to see you. Andrew Elder, good day from Australia. That's my Australian accent, in case you needed to know. Christopher Harmon, hello. Mitty Quinn. Oh, Susan, you warm my heart. Thank you so much.
Susan.
You're so very generous.
Really.
You guys are awesome. Okay. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot. Nice to see you here again. Nice regular crowd. Christopher Harmon and Audrey Miller. And Sandra. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Much love to you. Fung Pei, good evening. Thanks for all the vids and live streams. I find this subject endlessly fascinating. Me too. Endlessly. That's a good way of putting it. So thank you for joining us. Mr. Saturn Ones. Dana Matthews. You guys, you're on fire tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Tim Alvarado. Simon Domville Musters, our frequent flyer guest. Hi, Simon, joining us all the way from the UK. That's awesome.
Who's up late watching this? Yes.
Yep. Because it's like, 1 a.m. there. We keep trying to get guests from Europe, but it's a hard sell. They don't want to stay up late, which I understand. But we'll keep trying. Okay, who else do we got here? Susan Mack and Louise and CT Guitar. Hope you're both well. Yes, we are. We're doing awesome here on Earth. Josh Burns, Clifford, Pennsylvania. Okay, I'll put it on my list. I better write that down because I am not sure I'm going to remember that. One moment, folks. Email me, please. That'll be easier. My email is prestonufo@gmail.com. All right. Fox TV, hello from Poland. Dolly, hello.
Dzień dobry, jak się masz? Dzień dobry.
Mountain Dan, greetings and brilliant design. And hometown UFO suggestion, Trumbull County. Okay, I will look it up. Moonfire. Yes, I saw that. I'm so behind on my emails, Moonfire. I'm going to get in real trouble if I don't start really buckling down on that. But I've got it. If you're patient, I will get back to you. Okay, WTAF, greetings from Australia, and Pony Pong from the Netherlands, and George Hernandez, and I'm now officially in trouble, so I better get going. Halogen Oven TV, tuned in from the UK. Okay, enough is enough. I've got to get the show started. So let's do that. Let me pull up our guest's bio and tell you a little bit about our amazing guest tonight, who is, of course, Debz Shakti. Let me put up a banner so you can see. There we are. Yeah, I'm super excited about tonight's guest. We're really proud and honored to welcome Debz Shakti. She's a professional quantum hypnotherapist, an open channel. She offers many services, including ET contact and paranormal experience counseling, which, boy, I'm sure there's a huge need for that. So many people having experiences. She also does energy alchemy, extremely accurate psychic readings. She lovingly hosts a long-standing local CE5 contact and consciousness group. She's really doing the field work in this field, which not a lot of people are doing. There's a lot of people out there who are armchair researchers and just kind of trying to do this for fun. No, she's serious. She's doing some really important work. She's an active member of several international CE5 contact teams, leading retreats and researching the infinite nature of consciousness. She's the associate producer of the new top-rated film, Alien Abduction Answers. We're going to talk about that. If you haven't seen that, I was impressed. I love watching UFO documentaries, and I'm often disappointed. It's just not presented well. The experiencers don't get any chance to speak. It's a lot of speculation. Alien Abduction Answers is different. The speakers or the experiencers get a real platform to share what happened to them. So I loved that movie for that reason. Let's see what else we got here. Her work as the quantum hypnotherapist assisting John Yost, the filmmaker, on his pathway of self-discovery, as well as the other experiencers in the film, is highly featured. Yes, it is. She has many decades of professional service working with this special population, as well as with people from all walks of life who are seeking self-discovery and clarity about the nature of consciousness. She's doing the good work to wake people up. I think that's one of the main ET missions, so she's apparently picked up on that. She's also the host of the Hidden Variables podcast, presenting interesting guests from all walks of life who help make our world a better place, and the Vortex, a free online group where experiencers of all types of phenomena can gather to share stories, learn coping and enhancement techniques, and support one another. A little bit more, she's got a very impressive bio. Debbie was born with psi gifts, what she affectionately calls her, quote, superpowers. She was born with them switched on. And she also cherishes a lifetime of constant contact with various forms of non-local consciousness, ETs, interdimensionals, orbs, celestials, ultra-terrestrial spirits, and more. She has always perceived and been able to live work multidimensionally. She channels the ultra-wise group entity known as the Star Teachers, as well as other highly advanced beings who say they are us, having evolved to a much higher, more positive, and co-creative frequency. She works with many types of energy healing modalities, is a lifelong yogi and yoga, breathwork, meditation, mantra teacher. This is so interesting, too. Listen to this, Dolly. She also spent much of her life as a competitive athlete.
Oh, really?
Is a former national champion martial artist. Some real similarities too, Dolly. A published author and more. Debz Shakti loves everyone. She does. She lives and breathes love. She loves our planet and everything that makes up life. She's doing her best work. She's doing her best work to work her purpose, dharma, to assist as many people as possible to become consciously balanced and sustained in self-awareness. Most of all, to be, capital letters, share and teach love, all caps. And there's more, but definitely you can check out her links in the show description. And without further ado, let's bring on our lovely guest.
Wow. I need to pare that bio down.
No. You're very accomplished, and it's awesome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, guys. It's wonderful. And I'm just out of this world enjoying all of the people in the chat. For some reason, I can't get into the chat to respond. So I don't know what's going on.
On the right-hand side of your screen, do you see a list all the way over there that says comment at the top?
Yeah.
It should open it up.
It just says join the chat, but then it turns it over to YouTube, and I can't get in for some reason. So
at the bottom, you can't start typing in there?
No, there's nothing there but join the chat. So I don't know what's going on with it.
It doesn't say post a comment?
No. So anyway, I know it usually does, but tech problems tonight. I love all of you. Some really dear friends are in there, and I'm just
Susan
so happy.
And Abduction Answers, that movie changed her life. It really did. It started her on her journey of self-discovery in such a synchronistic way. Susan's the subject of a chapter in one of my books, and she clicked on, she says, I need to go onto the internet. And it was the day the movie was released.
Yeah.
So there was incredible synchronicity there.
Crazy, incredible. And the work that you did to help her get her story out, you guys, is just wonderful. Thank you so much again.
It was all Preston. Honest to gosh. Preston. Yeah.
We had a team, definitely. Earl Grey helped a lot. She had another MUFON researcher.
Richard Bastianek, I think is his name. I can't say his name right, but
I would sit and listen to her on the phone. When she wanted to get stuff out, I'd just be there, her talk. That's right. Yeah.
So wonderful. But yeah, I can't believe people from all over the world tonight on the show. This is so great. So since I can't get in the chat, I'll just try to look every once in a while and break in and answer questions. Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty on top of it. I won't allow a troll to exist because we don't have.
He does do it all the time. He'll bring them up for you. He also brings up questions for you from the chat.
If you see one, just shout out and I can bring it up.
Perfect.
But yeah, I mean, you've got a lot to share. I know we're probably going to have you back because I don't think we can cover it all in 2
No, it's gonna
hours.
happen.
But we'll give it a good old college try. So yeah, as I told you before the show, I'm always interested in people when they're little kids. I can't help but look at everyone as a little kid, kind of.
I'm still a little kid. Don't know what I want to be when I grow up, if I ever do.
So yeah, I mean, how did it all start for you? I mean, you were born having all this stuff going on already.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I quote Lady Gaga by saying, "I was born this way." It's true. I didn't realize I was kind of different until, several years into my life. But I, from earliest memory, have had contact, especially with extraterrestrials, but all types of consciousness.
I don't know if that's different, Debz. That's normal to me.
It is.
Living a normal life. No kidding.
For you guys, yeah. Growing up in the beautiful family that I was in, did not have the same experience that I did. So that was a little difficult. And but I used to tell the story. The earliest memory that I had of contact was when I was about 3. When some little beings were out in my backyard, tapping on my window. They were in a tree and they were saying, "We want to come out and play with us." But they were doing it telepathically, right? And I was in bed at night. And by then my mom was pregnant with her 3rd child. She was very tired. I think my dad was working. He worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time. And I think he was still at work. But I went and asked permission to go outside, and it was at night. My mom said, "Oh no, you're having a dream. That's not real," and tucked me into bed, kissed me goodnight, and said night night. And a few minutes later, they were tapping on the window again, and I got up again and I said, "Mommy, the space monkeys want me to come outside and play." And now, this is significant because I was a tiny child still, and I, as far as I know, had not been exposed to anything about space. And probably had not seen monkeys yet, so I don't know where that came from, but they did. Yeah, they looked like space monkeys. And so she was getting tired and she said, "No, it's a dream. Just go back to sleep." This went on for several times until she finally got very frustrated. And she kept looking out the window. She didn't see anything, obviously, as that happens. But she finally just got really stern with me and she said, "I want you to go to bed and go to sleep. And I don't ever want to hear about the space monkeys again. And if I do, you're going to get a spanking." And so, A, I loved my mom. B, I did not love her spankings. And so I shut up about them. But they were there. And
what did they look like?
Well, years later, I realized, once talk of this kind of stuff was out and open, they were the grays. They were little grays, but they looked like, tiny children with big heads, long willowy limbs, very big eyes, and they were in the trees, so right by my window. So I just called them space monkeys.
Was that a second story? I'm curious. Or
was that what?
Was that a second story window or?
No, it was a 1st story window. We lived in California. It was a ranch house, but that wall, that actually it wasn't a window. That wall that faced the backyard was all glass. So, but they were in the tree. So,
did your mother, was she right next to you? In other words,
no, she was across the hall and down the hall. So, and I've, in all the work I've done and all the studies, all the things that I have come across, what we find out is, especially in the consciousness research that I do, is that you have to be in a certain frequency, a state of vibrational state yourself to perceive certain things that are a match. So at the time, my mom was not in the same frequency as I. She was a wonderful person, but she wasn't interested in, she just wasn't in that frequency. So she did not perceive them. They were right there. I kept pointing. I could see them. I'm like, they're right there. Can't you
so interesting. Wow.
And even to this day, we'll go out to the field for an expedition and have some fantastic ship come right over us or whatever. And some people will see it and some people won't. Even, might be 100 feet above the group if they're not in the right frequency or they're not meant to. So I've told that story a bazillion times as kind of my first memory, but lately I started having deep flashbacks when I was in meditation. And now it's a much earlier memory. It's when I was an infant, and I had a lot of breathing problems when I was a little kid. I had bad asthma and all kinds of stuff. And parents were always trying to, always taking me to the hospital and stuff. So I remember this really, really deeply. Someone picking me up. I was lying on my back, picking me up, patting me and holding me to their heart and calming me down, and then placing me over on my side so I could breathe better in my crib. Well, for the longest time, I thought that was my dad, but then it shifted, and this came in a very lucid piece of meditation, and it was one of the star teachers. So and they're very tall. They're about 7 to 8 feet tall. They're humanoid, but they don't have any features. They look like they're made out of like black translucent glass to me. Very long limbs, the oval face, but instead of, you can kind of see into them, but instead of seeing into them and seeing, veins and heart and all that, you see galaxies and universes, and lights are streaming constantly, colored lights. So I didn't know I had the relationship with the star teachers until, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. They came in, and that's a whole other story. Until just recently, I realized they had told me they've always worked with me, but I don't remember seeing them till now. The memories are starting to come back when I was even an infant, that they were there taking care of me and making sure that, I was healthy and didn't suffocate in the middle of the night.
Very cool.
So yeah, but also, even as a child, had interactions with what one would call angels. I grew up in a Catholic family. I went to Catholic school as a kid. And so, I don't know if that's a screen memory, a screen image, to fit my household paradigm so I wouldn't be frightened, or if it was an ET, or if it was an angel. But had a beautiful angel that used to come and sit with me when I was a kid. And, so.
Can you describe it? I mean,
yes,
the whole
yes.
visuals.
Yes, this one was very feminine, divine feminine, kind of this diaphanous white, flowy kind of robe, the giant white wings. I remember the hands were very delicate, very beautiful, delicate hands. There was definitely, we were always taught that, angels and Christ and all of them had a halo. Now I see that as the energy field, the aura, but a giant golden halo or energy field, and a voice that sounded almost like an opera singer singing. It never spoke, it sang. So that was kind of interesting.
I've heard these sort of details from other people.
Yeah. It's really hard, guys, to describe it. It's like singing and fine crystal bells at the same time. But you could understand the word. I could understand.
One person told me it was like almost multi-tonal.
It was, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Multi-tonal. So it's almost like a voice with bells, So
that is so cool.
The first language of all of us, every entity, all of us, we all sing. It's music. And light entities, or what you call angels, can manifest, showing you the wing and everything, and they speak musically to you.
Which is interesting. Music has always been one of my great loves, and in fact, my beloved, my husband, is a professional musician, and so I have music with me all the time, and so it's followed me. Either I got programmed really early, or I was just, again, born that way, drew myself to that. But as far as seeing ships, craft, all of that as a kid, absolutely. At age 9, my dad was in the military, and then to promote in the military, we had to move around a lot, to different bases. And we moved from Southern California to Georgia, actually. And at age 9, my brother and I woke up one night. He woke me up and said, we lived in a house that was next to a giant pine forest, which was fantastic after living in LA. You know, it was Warner Robins.
Ah, okay.
Robins. And so
your dad was Air Force.
Was he? Yeah. Oh, yeah. My dad was Air Force. Absolutely. And then moved into the Justice Department after that. But anyway, it was very late at night. Must have been a weekend night. My brother, who was a year younger than I, woke me up and said, the woods is on fire. And I don't know why, but we were compelled to run out there and see what was happening. And you could see it looked like it was on fire. It was bright orange, red light. And we ran out we had a kind of a circular meadow in the middle of the woods that we played in, and we built a fort there and everything. It was our favorite place. And the light was there, and we got there. And instead of it being on fire, of course, we saw a giant ship. And
wow.
What did the ship look like? What
well,
year was it?
This would have been 1960. Let's see, my math is bad tonight. So 1965. Okay. 1965. And years later, I would come to be shocked at the end of Close Encounters of the Third Time. I went to see the premiere of that, or the debut showing of it. And of course, that mothership shows up at the end, and it was exactly like the ship that I saw when I was 9. And all I could think of was, how does Steven Spielberg see what I saw when I was a kid?
It is
I had never told anyone. Yeah, because right. But interestingly, back to that encounter, there were tones, there was music, lots of colored lights, but everything that was on the forest floor was levitated. Pine needles, pine cones, rocks, twigs, everything was levitated, and it felt electric. And I do believe that was kind of, maybe it was the beginning, maybe we'd been doing it before that, but I think that's the beginning of when we were starting to go to this, what Whitley Strieber calls the secret school, where children are taken into craft or to different environments and shown, what their purpose is, and so, yeah, and it was amazing. But again, we didn't, after it was over, I don't remember leaving. I don't remember going back home, but I remember waking up the next morning and our clothes were damp and kind of muddy over in the corner. And my brother said, we can never talk to anybody about this because our parents will find out and we'll get in big trouble for leaving the house. That was our main concern, So we didn't say anything, but after breakfast, we ran back out there, and that whole meadow was smoldering. Oh, wow. It was, and you'll see that in the film. They do a reenactment of that. It's smaller on the film than it was in real life, but because I'm telling you, it was giant.
In Alien Abduction Answers, you mean?
Yes. Yeah. So that story is kind of told in a small way, but I've been in craft my whole life, off and on. Have flown craft. I've enjoyed meeting people in our world from craft when I was a child or as an adult. So it's been an interesting life, and I pretty much just have daily contact with whomever. I never know what's going to come day or night.
So did this also include spirit contact as a child?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if I remember anything before that, but when I think I was 6 or 7, my dad's father passed away, and they lived in Louisiana, and we'd still lived in California. But I can remember, I had never met my grandpa. No, I take it back. I guess I had met him once, but I was really little, so I didn't know him very well. But I remember him standing in my bedroom, waving. Wow. And I just thought, well, Grandpa's here to visit. And so I got up, and it was in the middle of the night. There was nobody awake. And I looked in all the rooms, no grandpa and definitely no grandma. And so I went back to bed. And then I remember that morning, my dad got a phone call. It's the first time I ever saw my dad cry. And he received word that grandpa had passed away.
Wow.
And so I thought nothing of it because I was a little kid, and little kids are just literal. They just take it as it comes, right? But now I'm looking back at them and going, wow, he actually came and said goodbye, so that was pretty interesting. So after that was, I think that was kind of opened that gate for people who had crossed over, and
Amazing.
so yeah, I had another family, a complete new, a totally different family from my physical family, who lived in an overlay in my house with us. And it wasn't like, we always talk about kids and their imaginary friends. Well, it wasn't imaginary, and they were real, and I could tell lots of details. My family just thought I was really creative and, and just kind of laughed it off till it was time to go to school. And then it became very apparent that I had to kind of keep my mouth shut about stuff. But so whether that the family's last name was Crete, the father's name was Leo, and all, the mother, the children, they all had full lives, and I would interact with them just like I was interacting with my other family. And, so whether they were people who had crossed over or they were just interdimensional, or who knows? I mean, we're all interdimensional. We just don't realize.
Thank you. That's something I often tell people, like, ETs are interdimensional. I'm like, well, who isn't?
Nobody. We all are. And that's the cool thing. Thank you for bringing that up. It's because they're all us. We're all one, right?
Yes.
So
you wonder who interdimensional being, guardian angels are. They're fourth dimensional beings that live with us. They can see us. Some of us can see them, and they're part of our lives. They care about us. We're interacting with one another, whether we realize it or not. And a lot of times they'll intervene or try to step in when we're at the worst moment of our life, when we really do need help. They'll try to help. And people say, I have a guardian angel. Yes, you do. No doubt in my mind.
You do indeed. You do indeed. And so the older I get, the weirder my life seems in retrospect. As I was living it, it didn't seem so weird, other than I would get kind of frustrated that other people didn't understand or couldn't see what I was seeing, But
must have been hard.
People would come and bring like their puppy if their puppy was sick, and ask me to just hold the puppy, and the puppy would get better. Or if grandma wasn't feeling well, sit with grandma. And sometimes they'd say, will you pray with my brother or something, So and praying was a big thing in our house. So I would pray and put my hands on them and give them a hug. I was really shy though. So this was a big deal for me. I was super introverted. So I would rather fade into the background in school than answer a question and get an A on my grade, So
me too. I feel you.
It was really hard to interact with people a lot that way. But it, in the end, it did help break me out of my shell. But
did the healing come with you through life? Are you still working as a healer?
Oh yes, absolutely.
That's exactly a gift right there.
I do. I like to say a healing facilitator or a healing alchemist. I mean, early on I tried to figure out what, my first word was why. So I'm half scientist and half, woo woo. But I wanted to know how these things were happening and how they were working. And so I would seek out teachers and schools and all that. I have certifications out the yin yang for healing modalities and things like that, because it helped to explain. One of the best schools I ever went to was called Core Star, which was a kind of an offshoot of Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light. And I love Barbara Brennan because she was a quantum scientist, a quantum physicist. And so she would explain how energy was working through quantum science. And that really turned me on quantum physics, which is still one of my great passions, as well as neuroscience. I'm big into that now too. So
Wow.
yeah, so I put a lot of these modalities, a lot of the scientific stuff into my work, especially for people who may be skeptics or may not be able to relate to it from the spiritual until they have the direct experience, and then boy, do they flip.
It's like, oh, yeah.
It's fun. Contactees often, I hear this from contactees all the time. Music, a close relation to music, a real
Yes.
interest in quantum physics. Oh, I've got questions. I've got questions, Debz.
Good.
What about animals? Have you had any unusual experiences with animals?
All the time. I'm a huge animal person, and I was actually vegan for about 25 years up till very recently. I had some health issues that kind of preclude me from doing that right now. But I'll tell you one real cool story that happened, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I was traveling from our state capital in Kansas. I live in Missouri, but my husband was performing in the state capital of Kansas, Topeka, and I was traveling back east to my house in the middle of the night, and it's all farmland out there, on that highway. And it was about, I don't know, 12:30, 1 in the morning, and I suddenly got this deep compulsion to pull off the highway and just drive up this dirt road in the middle of a cornfield.
Wow.
And I did, because I'm one of those people who always listens to the voices in their head.
Follow your
Follow up my intuition. So I get out there and there's a moon. It was probably a half moon, so I could see. And there was a little clearing, and I just got out. I always carry my chair. I always carry some of my gear, my contact gear with me. And I just put my chair out, and I thought, I'm just going to sit under the stars of the moon and relax. I'm not sleepy. And I have this feeling. I always have a feeling when it's going to happen. And so I just decided to meditate, and I was chanting. I'm a yogi, so I was chanting a mantra and getting into that frequency. And after a while, I was deep in meditation, just in bliss. And I kept hearing this kind of snorting and stomping. And I finally opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, who's here? I could feel him. And there was a half circle of deer around me, just staring at me. Now, were they deer, or was that a screen memory? I don't know, but I tell you, it was absolutely, it just made my heart swell. It was so beautiful, and they were just so gentle, and they were just all standing there looking at me like, we're with you, sister, we're in the energy too. And I had some good contact that night. And it was really hard to break it up and drive the rest of the way, 50 miles away, to get home in the middle of the night. But that happens often. I'm a big nature person. I go on hikes every day. When I go out in the woods, I often will stop and meditate, and there'll be bunnies or squirrels or you name it. Once there was a giant white owl in the middle of the day, just sitting right in a tree right in front of me.
They can hear you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're broadcasting, they're going to come.
Yeah. So animal communication is something that I think is, I think all of us can do it. And I have a beautiful 150-pound dog in the next room. And if I say his name even in my head, he'll try to
yeah. We got the same kind, I think. Didn't we talk about that?
I think we did talk about that one time.
We don't even say that name out loud in our heads, because if we do, that dog shows up. Yep.
Yeah. He's kind of my service dog. He comes in and he snores loudly during my sessions, and it sounds like a drone. But people go really deep. So.
Okay. All right. I have another question, if I might.
Absolutely.
What about past lives?
Oh, yeah, baby, you're talking my language. Well, sort of my language. I don't believe in past lives. They're all happening concurrently forever, right, in the quantum. But for, the general public, they like to call that past lives, alternate realities, right? Alternate life realities, or life iterations, versions. Incarnations, exactly. So part of my science self decided to go into and study clinical psychology. That was going to be my calling. Because I just love people, and I want to find out what makes them tick and how to make them feel better. There's a lot of strife in the world back in the 60s, early 70s. So
Yep.
I wanted to help. And so a big part of my learning and eventually my job, I started working with the director or the dean of the clinical psych PhD program at the college I was in Kansas. Our focus was on hypnosis. And so I learned hypnosis from the very best. And back then, you didn't hear about past life stuff. It was, in fact, it was really verboten in the academic world to be talking about stuff like that. And we were all about the brain, right? And helping people feel better psychologically. But patients kept coming in, and no matter what they were coming in for, they would, I would regress them into an earlier time in their life or their childhood or whatever, but then they would go way back, start going way back to other lives in past lives. And then eventually they started, going to other planets and the future, if you want, the future, being other beings, other life forms. Wow. And so my mentor, who I said was the dean of that program, the director of that program, finally just said, is like, you're doing brilliant work. And I was also, I'm a psychic, so I could empathize with them. I would get information from them without them talking. I would do energy work with them and so forth. It's like, that's not going to fly with the APA. Once you want to put up your shingle, you have to follow the rules.
Right.
And it's like, you're going to have to decide whether you want to stick to the standard practice or go rogue and, do it that way.
Paranormal psychology.
Yeah. So he was a wonderful mentor and he helped me decide. So I did go, I went the other way so I could put everything, because I just felt like I was leaving things out if I didn't.
Yeah, it's more effective. I mean, I know several cases of people who did past life regressions and got physical healings as a result.
Yes.
Physically healed them.
Well, it does happen, because guess what? When you go back and you experience, direct experience is the best teacher. It's also the best healer. When you can relive that objectively, right, without having all the pain and suffering, the emotional content and all of that, it's like watching a movie, and you're being able to really see it and get all the facts. Suddenly it just dissipates. The energy of the illness that it's caused dissipates, or the situation that it's causing in this life, it dissipates. And what's really cool is it doesn't just heal the person I'm working with, it retroactively heals everybody involved, no matter what the situation is.
There's levels of understanding. Once you understand something, yes, you start going through all the levels of it, and there are lessons in every one of them. And we can pass that back and forth to one another. We can actually learn by example,
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Here's Science Bob. Debz did my regression.
Oh, Science Bob. Hi, Bob. Oh my God, all my friends are on here tonight. This is amazing.
Lala.
And Lala's too. Yeah, I've worked with both of them. Thanks for coming. Now, I don't ever call anyone's name out for, I'm very confidential, but thanks for saying. You and Susan and Lala. Oh, this is great. So
yeah, it's really awesome. We got a huge crowd today, so this is really cool. So how did this, start to become something that you reached out to help others?
I guess I just always did from childhood. But I also, I got married, I became a mom, I was working a corporate job. So I did all this stuff on the side, but I've always been kind of, again, a multidimensional person doing all that stuff. I was still, a yogi and a yoga teacher. I was very much into fitness and competitive.
That's amazing.
Sports.
When did you start the martial arts? How old were you?
I started late. I was probably 36, 37.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just never did want to compete in any of this stuff, but I was kind of had a natural tendency for it. And so my teachers, gurus, senseis, all those people, they would always, push for that. And I guess I'm a double Aries, so I do have an ego. I try really hard to polish it up, but, when you're winning and it's kind of addictive. So, but yeah, I was very physical. I've always been a very physical person as well. So very multi-dimensional, as I said, doing all of that all the time at the same time.
Yeah. You want to realize the full human potential.
Yeah. Right. I was taught that those who are aware very early and psychic enough to be fully aware employ every ounce of their being, including the physical body. You're so connected to it that you can move in ways that other people can't do it. You have abilities to develop things at will. And it also keeps your interest in everything going at the same time. There's no way to stop. It's like a thirst that you cannot deny. Yeah. And most people say, how come you've done all these things in your life? I'm like, I don't really know how to say it. It's just a thing. I always have. I can't stop.
And, I can't either. Yeah. It's funny, people always say, gosh, how have you done all that? That doesn't seem possible. I'm like, and I just joke and say I'm a highly distractible girl. So,
Oh, I see. I used to say I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'm not kidding. That was my answer. I'm just an adrenaline junkie. I don't know.
Maybe I am. I got accused of that by someone once, and I'm like, oh, I don't think so. I think I just enjoy life a lot more than most people. So
yes.
Yeah, and if you're doing your life's purpose, doors open up for you. Things become easy. You're having fun. So it's not work.
It's a pleasure.
Exactly.
Right. It's a pleasure. And I do agree with you, Preston, on that. I think that I know we are fully supported when we are on our path. And there are times when you don't think you're being supported. You're like, God, where the bottom just fell out of all that. What happened? Well, that's because something new is happening and you're not cognizant of it yet. And you better keep your eyes open.
Right.
So I just stay grateful for whatever's happening. And then it's very apparent what's going on. The puzzle pieces start to fit better.
Yeah, if it's really hard. That's a clue that you're straight off your path. It's like, why is everything so difficult?
Yeah. Did you take that little side path over there where the blackberry bushes are? Well, they're got yummy berries, but there are a lot of thorns. So you might want to get back on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, but anyway, that's how I did it. It's just, and I continue to do it. New things come up all the time. And if it feels good, I do it.
Yeah.
To the best of my ability.
We have something in common. I'm going to bring it up because I want to point it out to you. It's a good answer for you too. I was born willing to do anything for anybody that I could to help them. It is the very first innate adaptive ability that I have is to absolutely care to help. It is my personality all the way to the core of who I am. If you cry to me, I will listen. If you need help from me, I will help you. It's one of those things. I'll give you anything. I'm one of those people. If you need it, it's yours. My parents crazy because
I was going to say, it got me in a lot of trouble over the years.
Yeah, it did. And oh my heaven. But yeah, and it's part of being psychic. You can't help it because you can empathize instantly without even understanding why you're doing it.
That's why I like to, people say, oh my God, you're so telepathic and you just, you know what I'm going to say before I say it. And I'm like, no, it's not telepathy, it's telepathy, because it's getting all of that information, not just getting mind stuff. You're getting feelings, you're getting memories, you're getting all of it as the complete package.
Yes.
And it's so, how can you say no? You know what? They're another me. How can I say no to me?
Exactly. We're all the same. We're that closely together. People don't realize that we're not really separated because our aura, our field of energy is being enveloped by everybody else's. We're all connected. And it's a big telephone going on all at the same time. And it, like experiencers, let me ask you if you felt this, very first time I realized that I was part of an entire giant community of thought. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
that you can hear each one singularly or in mass.
Yes.
It changes. But it hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought, well, we're doing that here too. We have the equipment. We're all receiving the signals, but whether we pay attention to it or not is completely different. And
Yes.
now we have the extra added problem of our physical bodies are being harmed with things here. Like,
Yes.
yeah, but we're all still innately psychic, and we know it. And it's like, just dive in. It's a big pool. Come on, the water's warm,
When I first started having out-of-body experiences, I started having all this stuff, empathy and telepathy. And man, oh man, I could just feel people's emotions to the point where you couldn't separate yourself from others.
Yeah.
You are one. We are all one.
It's tough. I learned a long time ago, even just, in regular therapy, you cannot carry everybody's stuff around with you or you will perish. You'll be crushed, or it will crush your spirit. And so it's funny. I usually, especially when I'm channeling or when I'm doing therapy with people, it goes right through me. I often do not remember much, if any, of it. So I always record, of course, and I take good notes. But even when I'm channeling, it's just the body is doing what the body's supposed to do. But I do not carry that stuff around with me. But if somebody has a session with me today and calls me up 30 years from now and says, hey, remember that session we did? I asked you a question about whatever, the subject is. I have another question that's come up about it. What do you think? And instantly we're back in that spot. And I can just go there because it's part of the quantum field and start the conversation from where we left off and more information comes through. So it's interesting. I get a lot of people who are suffering really deeply right now because they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to try to tell people, it's not caring. It's actually being very caring for yourself and the world, to just let everything flow through you, experience it in the moment, respond to it in the moment. And that way you help things to become better rather than carrying it around, seething over it, being upset about it, wondering about it, stressing out about it. You just let it flow through you and respond.
Detachment is
exactly.
Yeah. Well, we need to take a quick station ID break, but I want to talk a little bit about Alien Abduction Answers and your work on that show.
Yep.
But before we do, I just want to let you all know you are watching The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron. We're talking with the amazing Debz Shakti. I'm having so much fun, Debz.
Love you guys so much.
Some of these stories are really honestly giving me chills. So yeah, this is awesome. We've talked about how Debz grew up with all of these experiences and all the amazing things she's accomplished, and we barely even scratched the surface. We're definitely having you back, Debz.
Oh, yeah, I would love to.
Lots to unpack, yeah.
But
Definitely.
yeah, we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. And if you have Roku, check that out as well, because we are on Roku too. And if you missed the live, don't worry. All the shows are archived. Huge shout out to Michelle at the Outer Realm. Check that show out. I love her so much. Airs live each Wednesday and Thursday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. She's amazing. It's because of her we are doing this show. So thank you, Michelle. And yeah, that's the station ID. So thank you guys. And yeah, Debz, I would love to hear how you got involved in this amazing movie, because it stands out. It's a multiple award winner. There's a lot of stuff out there on UFOs which is not worth watching. This one is. And I rarely say that, as Dolly will attest. I'm like, turn it off. This is no good. It's fear-based. This one is nonsense, but this one's good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, before I answer that, I see in the chat, and I apologize, guys, for some reason I can't answer the chats tonight, but Jen asked, can quantum hypnotherapy be done remotely online? And yes, about 98% of my work for the last 10 years has been done virtually and very successfully. In fact, I tend to think it works better for some people because they're more comfortable coming from, their own comfortable place. So I just wanted to say, yeah, it can be done. And I have been doing it remotely for about 10 years. And I still take the, occasional person in person, but I no longer have a wellness center or anything like that. I can do a lot more just this way, and I don't have to pay a lot of overhead for a building. So
There you go.
Very cool.
So anyway, yes, Jen. Back to Alien Abduction Answers. How did that film come about? Well, I with one of my CE5 groups, one of the big ones that we do retreats with, one of my dear friends was involved with the making of another film a few years ago. And the filmmaker that they had hired was John Yost, the filmmaker who made this film, but who was also kind of the star of the film. And it didn't work out because the person who was, wanting to make the film changed towards the end of the film, changed the whole idea of the film. And it was just too much. And they didn't get along energetically. And so John excused himself. It was a huge, hard thing for him to do because, it was a lot of money that went down the drain and everything. And his people had worked so hard on it. But anyway, they removed themselves. And then he and the guy who was my friend who was in that film or that filmmaking project, they decided to do something else. And so they were having a meeting and my friend said, hey, I just came from a big retreat where my friend we were out in the middle of the field doing contact work, doing CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, for those of you who don't know what that means. And I had taught all day long. I was really tired. It was a beautiful night, but I thought I fell asleep. And what I really did was start channeling the beings who were there. It was a really extraordinary thing. And there's a big story that goes with that as well. But needless to say, my friend had the wherewithal to notice that I was starting to channel. So he got his audio recorder out, put it right in front of me, and caught the whole thing on tape. And so he played this channeling because it was a message for the world. It was a very powerful message. He played it for these people who were thinking about making another film. And they decided they wanted me to be maybe part of that film. Again, that did not happen. It was just, a lot of the times I get a lot of people asking me to be in films or TV shows or whatever. And the ideas just never flesh out. Well, this one, it was just a beginning meeting. I met with these people, John included, but during the whole meeting, it was like John was broadcasting that he was suffering and needed help. Couldn't tell it by looking at him. He's this big, burly, grandiose, eloquent speaker. Yeah. And a jolly guy too. And they were talking about business, but the whole time I was just really feeling him. And so, we had said our goodbyes and everything. And immediately after, the star teachers, I just call them the teachers, said, you have to get in touch with him and tell him that you understand what he's going through and you can help him and you need to work with him. And I'm like, like I said, I listen to the voices in my head and do what they say 99% of the time. This time I argued and said, this guy doesn't know me from Eve, and he's a big time filmmaker. He's not going to even, he probably doesn't remember me 15 minutes after this meeting. And they kept saying, you have to. So about 3 days in, I finally gave in, and I did have his email address. So I sent him an email and I said, I thank you for letting me be in on that meeting. I was very excited to meet you, but I'm just going to say something wacky here. I kept feeling that you were suffering, and I want to offer my services. And, no strings, just, let me know if you're interested. And I thought, okay. And I hit send. I'm like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. It sounds like some
They
sycophantic,
never remember
person,
that. Never.
yeah, groupie or something. And almost immediately, he called me back and he said, "How did you know?" He was just flabbergasted. And now, please know, at that time, John was not involved in any of this stuff. He didn't know anything about it. He was a gun for hire when he was making that other film. And he was starting to have feelings about things that had happened to him when he was a child. It was coming back to him. And then to have me out of the blue say, "Hey, I can feel your suffering. Let me help you. I'm a hypnotherapist." So it took a long time before he would let me do anything. It took a lot of trust building, and we became friends. I started out very slowly by doing little tiny sessions that he could validate things from his childhood and, that felt good and all that. But about a year and a half later, he, right in the middle of the COVID lockdown, he called me. He's like, "Debz, I think I want to do the big one now." He used to call this experience that he had when he was a kid that he was so terrified to look at, the big one. And I said,
the Ultraman encounter.
The Ultraman
I want to tell you something before we go any further. One of the first things that struck me when we were going to bring John Yost on, before I even spoke to him, somebody said to me, "The boy in the mirror is going to come and talk to you. Listen to him."
Oh boy.
And I was like,
I got chills.
And when he came on, he's telling his story. And if you watch the video of our show with him, my eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger because the boy in the mirror is speaking. Listen to what he says. I'm like, okay. And then afterwards, we had him still on with us after the show ended, no more streaming. And I'm looking at him. Now I'm going to tell you something about myself that's like you, but different. I am not a healer, but I am, I can diagnose.
Yes.
I'm one of the best triage nurses there are because I can narrow down in seconds exactly go to what's wrong with you. And the whole time I'm watching him, I already know. Okay.
Oh,
and I said to him that night, I said, "Have you been to a doctor? You really need to see a doctor." And he's telling me, and I said, "Do not wait, do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Oh, golly.
I said to his face, "The boy in the mirror needs to obey this." And he looked at me and I said, "I mean it. Your time is important. This is your time. You need to take care of you." And then the whole time he's, going through all this, we're talking back channel. Okay.
Yeah.
And he told me about you. Okay. Just so you know, he expressly he laid it out for me that you were the one that brought him to all of this. Because I was digging for a story even deeper. I was like, oh my God, I just need to know the story. Because what he presents to the world is not who he really is.
No, I know.
Okay. Absolutely not. And it kind of confused me at first. I'm like, I'm looking at it, but no. And he finally broke and said, "This is da da da," and that's when your name came to me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, okay. And I started silently watching you from then on out. And I realized, real deal.
Oh my gosh.
That's the word for you. You're the real deal to me. That's what he told me, just so you know. And the boy in the mirror is here. He's listening to us.
Oh, yes.
He's
always with me. And for those who don't know the end of the story, or my dear bestie passed away a few months ago from pancreatic cancer. We were in the middle of shooting what we realized were going to be 3 films. We were in the second film, and we were fleshing it out. And he called me one day and he's like, I have this really horrible pain in this area of my belly. But by that time, he'd been taking really good care of himself, and he was working out. He'd lost a bunch of weight. He was so proud of himself. Well, yes, it turns out he had aggressive end-stage pancreatic cancer. Yeah. And he fought a good fight for a year. And we worked really hard to try to get funding for his alternative therapies. So many, hundreds and hundreds of people donated, and we got almost to the finish line, and the money ran out. And if you can't obliterate it completely, it just comes back with a vengeance. And it did. But that was part of his journey. And towards the very end, he spoke of he could see the light and he could see all of that. I wasn't there, but he told his son, and his son told me, Nathaniel, that he knew that it was all exactly as it wasn't a dream. It wasn't a wishful thinking that he saw, because in my work, we do visit what happens when you pass away.
Exactly.
It's a very important part of the work. It's part of the healing. And you no longer have a fear of death. And so, but he's like, it's exactly as I saw it. It's exactly. And so, usually when people pass away, it's a day or two or a week before I hear from them. It was like the next day or the day after, I was feeling really down. He's just like one of the dearest friends I've ever had in my life. And I was sitting in meditation, and there he stood, like he was, like it was physically.
Full person. Yeah.
And he shook his finger at me, and he used to call me Bunky. It was just a nickname. He's like, Bunky, you've had your time to feel sorry for yourself. It's time to get off your butt and start to get back to work. The mission is still ongoing. It hasn't stopped. He always called our work the mission. And he said, don't think about how it's going to happen. Don't think about anything. You're going to be supported from all sides. And now I'm much more able to support from where I am than where I was. And so just keep doing the work. But he's like, get up out of that chair and get to work. He's like,
that's John. Yeah.
And he hasn't left me alone since. So he's like, he used to call me his guardian angel, which embarrassed, the predictions out of me. And, but he did. He always, on all the hundreds of interviews he did to promote the film, he called me his guardian angel. And now I call him my guardian angel because he guides me. He kept me from getting hit by a semi truck the other day while I was in traffic. Seriously.
Wow.
It was almost like he took the wheel and said, turn now. And here it came. And
Wow.
it hit me.
Dang.
So, yeah.
Well, knowing there's life after death makes life on Earth a little easier.
Doesn't it though? Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's why I always encourage people to, to seek out any spiritual pathway that would lead you towards this knowledge. I did it with out of body experiences. So
I'm a big BE practitioner. I love out of body work.
Oh, good.
So
yes, I want to hear about that too.
How old were you when you figured that out?
the out of body stuff.
Yeah.
I always did it, but when I was a teenager, back in the hippie days, people were talking about astral travel, and of course, by then I was studying yoga and stuff, and we do that with yoga,
Wow.
and so, but to have a process, have people talking about a process, it was many years before I knew it was like something that was a teachable thing.
Right.
Robert Monroe's Institute really were helpful with that. But some of us we all have
I was
that.
born doing it. That's it. I mean, I walked out as a child and I knew what I was doing. I knew I was leaving my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I was flying right away. I mean, I just...
And not scary.
No, not at all. I'm not afraid of anything for that reason. And then Preston and I started talking, and he's telling me about Robert Monroe, and I'm realizing that you can teach this to people because I've never been able to explain it well enough. Okay, until I met Preston, and I actually learned from him about how to get the idea of how to do this across.
I learned it from his book. I didn't go to the Institute. I just read his book. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what were some of your experiences like? I mean, are you traveling off to the other side? Or are you visiting friends? And I mean, what are some of your best OBEs?
Some of my best are like, well, I want to begin by saying they're very conscious. Like, I'm very intentional about it now. And so, when I was a kid, I'd just leave and be like, oh, I'm out here in, Wonderland or wherever.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm in outer space. But it's very intentional now. I use it especially when I'm working with people who live here on Earth now, who I cannot get across to as a physical human being.
Ah, wow.
So whether that is a family member who doesn't want to have anything to do with me because we don't mesh, or it is a world leader, or it's a group. I know because we are all connected at the top and throughout with the divine spark, the same divine spark, that when we are out of this body and we're in, that higher energy, we see each other fully as we are. And we can have that communion, as Whitley Strieber likes to call it. And so I do a lot of work that way. It's very fun to do.
So you just gave me chills again, because I've had a couple of OBEs where I'm going to world leaders. And I'm just a guy. I'm like, I don't think here I am, like, talking to people who are like super famous and influential. I mean, they're world leaders.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell them, peace, peace, peace. Peace is the way, love is the way. Yeah.
And keep doing it, because they're no greater or lesser than you. They're all a part of you. At the end of every email, at the end of every workshop, at the end of every session and broadcast that I do, I give the Mayan salute in Lakesh. In Lakesh means I am another you. The Mayan people learned that from, they said, their star ancestors. And so when you can literally really see another person as another piece of you, there is no hierarchy. And so there should be no fear or embarrassment or, anything about that. You should just be able to talk one-on-one. And that's what OBE is so good for, I think. Also, as a yogi, I can say, at least in my lineage, we were taught anytime you're in that higher level energy, whether it's fifth dimension or on, anything that you do with conscious intention is 900 times more effective than it is if you do it here.
In the physical body, yeah.
Right. You can sit here all day and chant an affirmation, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I'm wealthy. Well, that's it. It can work, but it takes a long time.
Right. We're limited here in the physical body, and it's for a reason. This is how we learn things.
Exactly.
In that limitation. But we also have the ability to leave and do other things. Yeah. And when we're higher out, okay, the energy of higher out, we also have something on us that we don't have in the physical body. And some people don't like to hear this. I'm going to say it to you. We are in constraints here with being, pulled and pushed in morality.
In duality, yeah.
In duality, okay. Morality, duality, that's right. Mm-hmm. And when we're fully conscious and we're outside of this, that is part of who we really are. Yes. We don't have to think about it. That's who we are. And we're not doing anything on purpose that would harm anything or anyone at all, because we are the same. And it's really hard to explain. People say, well, people come after me and they're trying to get me and whatever. And I'm like, don't be afraid. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Do not love.
Send love. Right. Push them on the same wavelength, and then you can have that interface.
Right.
But it's true, because we are all one. And we're just, the way I explain it to people who have a hard time with this is, all of creation, you are all of creation. And creation is nothing more than an infinitely faceted, beautiful jewel. And every facet is another version of you looking at itself from one point of perspective. And it's colored by the experiences that one facet has had. And so you see things a little differently. You're looking at the holographic creation of yourself, and each one of those facets is a different version, but it's all still you.
Yeah.
And so
I don't like that. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? I would like to try to see it this way, because this is absolutely the way I was taught, absolutely taught by AT. It's not holographic. Holographic is a word that we use to explain a process that we use to show the image, and it's incorrect. Okay. What we are doing is experiencing the memory, the full embodied memory of others simultaneously at the same time. And it is like you're there, you're experiencing it. And so holographs are just images. We are full body on in it.
Yeah.
It's really hard for people to get that. They say, how can you do that? And it's like, I don't do it. It happens.
It's our natural state. And that's what
Right.
I was saying about telepathy. You know, it's not just one frequency of information we're getting or data. It's all of it.
Right.
It's the physical,
Exactly.
it's the mental.
There's no doubt in your mind. You
spiritual.
know exactly what this is. That's right.
Yeah.
What I always tell people is, we are an integral part of the universe. So we have all the power of the universe within us. We are the universe.
We do. You take a drop out of the ocean, it's still the ocean.
That's right.
It contains those. So it may be hard for people to understand, but that's kind of where I am with that. And so some of the OBEs that I've had have been hilarious. Like, especially when I was a kid, I'd go out of my body and I'd, bump into a glacier, and be like, oh, wow, that was weird. It didn't hurt, but what is this? Or, I see people that I had seen in dreams that I didn't think I knew. Right. Well, what do you think dreams are? Dreams are just you.
You're OBE, yeah.
You're in OBE and you're experiencing other levels of your being and other frequencies. Right. So it's interesting. I will see them in OBE and say, oh, I remember you when I was a kid and I had a dream about you. And then, what's even cooler is several days later, I'll bump into them at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had that.
That happens.
That's such a weird feeling. You're like, gosh, wait a second.
Yeah.
This person.
Yeah. So the comments are just great. Everybody is just so cool here. This is amazing.
We have lovely people in chat. And
we have lovely people on our channel. Absolutely.
Should we answer a few questions?
Sure.
Okay, because this one from Ala Listars, he asked this once and he asked it again, and it's a very important and good question. And he's asking, how do I go about getting all my memories back?
That's a very good question. Well, one of the ways that I help people is by using quantum hypnosis and helping them. Really, it's like what I told John when we were first talking about working with him. And that's how the movie was made, by the way. We never did finish that question, but eventually we had the big session, but he wanted to film it because he's a filmmaker, and it turned into a movie because we started putting experiencers who were my clients in and so forth. So from my standpoint, really what I tell people is I don't do anything in these sessions except help you relax enough and feel safe enough to allow yourself to retrieve that information, because it is there forever and you have complete access to it. Everybody has an all access pass to the information of the Infiniverse, so, and it's all you.
Infiniverse, I like that.
Yeah, I call it the Infiniverse. It's not a multiverse, it's in the Infiniverse. It's continuously building itself. So if you can't see a therapist, learn to really devote yourself to relaxation techniques. I think meditation is the gold standard. Breath work, gentle breath work. And for anybody interested in this and who doesn't know where to start, on my website I have a ton of free videos that help you learn these things.
That's fantastic.
Tutorials and
people forget that you have a physical mind that your consciousness is speaking to. Yes. And that we should learn in meditation to listen to ourselves talking.
Yes.
And that's what another aspect of duality. And your consciousness knows everything about you, everything. It's heard it all. It's with you. It's who you are. And reaching that connection is important. And meditation, number one, I agree with you 100%.
But there's a couple of other things I would say, because you've talked about it, communing with nature.
Yes.
Getting a good diet.
Yes.
Don't procrastinate all the stuff that's, stealing your attention. Fulfill your goals.
Right.
Face your fears. Realize your desires. Work with yourself.
Right.
So you can get the room in your own consciousness to move forward, because we get trapped. This is a hard school.
It is a hard school because it's so attractive, isn't it? Even the icky stuff is attractive. I mean, look at media. Most
drama.
media is drama, fear based. it's sticky stuff, but it attracts your attention, and it's hard to detract or detach from that.
Right.
And so it's way harder now than it ever was, because we have all of this data streaming at us all the time. Everything we look at is a device streaming this. And if not, it's people yelling it at.
Commercials. Boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
I like to tell people to please, when you're going to get ready to do any of this, or even while you sleep at night, please turn off your Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Shut your phone down. Faraday it if you can. Put it in a bag that's a Faraday bag.
Another thing you can do is write everything down.
Turn off all electronic devices in your home. Turn off all electricity in your home. Make your bed your nest. Make it a beautiful place. Do a ritual before bed to help you relax. It means hot bath, a shower, whatever it is. Make yourself feel good. Then get ready and then lie down and then go through the exercise of letting it go.
Yeah.
And music is a tool too that you can use.
Yes, music is a wonderful tool.
That's right. But to be away from all that electronic stuff is very important, because we broadcast to one another, and I want people to try to make the connection. Everything that's broadcasting in the airwaves is still broadcasting to all of us. And whether you've turned it off with the knob, if it's in your vicinity, it's still talking to you. And it's like, don't listen to it. Turn it all off. Put it away and be relaxed and calm and enjoy who you are, your life. Be in joy. That's what I like to think meditation is anyway, is going to joy.
It really is for me. I call it that little drop of nectar. When you can get even a split nanosecond of pure peace, where none of that disruption is coming through, it sustains you for days.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a beautiful thing, and people are really commenting on this one. You've hit a source point with people, but yes, it's true. You have to learn to relax, and whether you know it or not, all of these electromagnetic impulses, these frequencies, they're just pinging around you all the time, and they are disruptive to your own energy field.
Right.
So we are resonant with the Schumann resonance, the Earth's energy field.
Yeah, we
so
got it.
Going out, grounding, being outside, being in the sun, being on the earth, touching real ground. Or, I even sleep with a grounding sheet on my bed. It's attached to the grounding wire in my house that goes into the earth.
Oh, good.
So there are a lot of things you could do, but to start to regain your memories, learn how to relax and get in that bliss state. And like I said, there are a lot of places you can go to learn this stuff. There's free stuff on my website even that'll teach you how to do that. Really simple things: breath work, guided meditations, beautiful music with solfeggio tones in the background. Things like that can really help you. But like Preston was saying, get the junk out of your life, including like junk food, processed food, things like that. Eat a good, clean, wholesome diet. Be kind to one another. Be of service to one another. It's interesting how the more we give to someone else, then it makes that space that Preston was talking about. It makes that room for the memories to come back through. So
that was wonderful. I love that.
Thank you. Okay. Well, you guys are just so fun to riff from, because you get it. So you're just, you verify everything or add to everything I'm saying. It's wonderful.
All right. Here's an interesting question from Yami. Do aliens talk about us being able to harness the power of thought to create our reality, or how to do it?
Do they talk about us like to each other, or I'm wondering how that question is being put.
Have they told you this, or have you received any information about the power of thought?
Yes, absolutely. This is what ET contact is about, actually. They are literally, I believe, and I have some pretty good evidence to the fact that they are higher levels of us. If you want to think of it time-wise, even though I don't believe in time that way, there are future selves trying to teach us how to lift ourselves up from the tar pit.
Or what we could be. They're more about along the path.
Exactly.
Yeah. It depends on the classroom we're all in. The way I was taught this is that we're all in the third dimension right now. Yeah. And the ETs from the third dimension that do come and see us are way advanced. In other words, they're higher more evolved
Mhm.
than us, and they have the ability to work with us and help us and teach us. Is what they do, and
Yeah.
they worry about us. We're their children. We're genetically related to them. Okay, and then
Yeah.
there are other dimensions that you start sliding up into, the fourth dimension, fifth, all the way up through the 12th, and it is so incredible that every single person in every single aspect of the entire universe, throughout every single dimension that we have, we're all still the same. We're all together. We're all the same, and we're communicating. You can communicate. Time does not exist.
No.
It's slow here. We're taking it off. We're gravity heavy, and we feel it. But outside of this, there's no such thing. And
Mhm.
we're absolutely in communication. We know the past, we know the present, and we know the future. And I got confused about that once when I was really like a teenager. Explain this to me. Why can't I alter my? It's because you're not in that classroom.
Yeah.
Excuse me? And they're like, no, you've decided to be here. This is what you're learning now.
Mhm.
And it's forbidden. You can't do it. No.
Mm-mm.
And don't even try. Don't even worry about it. Worry about being right now in the present, every moment of your life.
That's it.
But you sure get a
Yeah.
sense of it when you meditate or do
Yeah.
OBEs. You can like, whoa.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Because
are
you know.
absolutely in the minute,
That's right.
in that moment, and
every
you're.
choice you
But yeah,
make-
you can see everything around you.
Right, exactly. You have all that information, but you're still right here. You've got yes or no, up or
Yeah.
down, sideways, whatever way you're going to do or go or be, you're still actually in this moment. And if you accept that, your journey will be a lot more pleasant, a lot more fun, a lot more exciting. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll take your advice. And I've tried to do that. We're all subject to getting off the track a little bit, but that's how we learn also. And
sure.
you just got to remember, I'm here now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Yesterday's already gone. Just be happy now.
So many people are living trapped in the past and paralyzed by the
Oh,
future.
yes.
You know what I mean?
And it's such a waste of your energy because
Yes.
because all there is now.
Right.
And now and now and now. No matter what you look at, even if you're looking at the past, you're still now. Right? So
Yes.
it's silly to worry about all that stuff and just it is kind of a leap of faith to just say, okay, I'm not going to worry about the future. I'm going to pay attention to what's happening now.
Right.
But it opens everything up. It's almost like a blooming, isn't it? I think that's what they talk about, the 1,000-petal lotus.
Yes, exactly. Your eyes really open. You suddenly like, I don't have all this stuff going on, but now I see. It's right there in front of me. Oh wow!
That's how I overcame fear.
Incredible.
Because when my mom passed away, I was just drenched in fear. I'm like, you know what? I'm living in the moment now. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I just realized, okay, fear is not okay. You have to find a way to move past fear in general.
Yeah. I heard something once from a wonderful friend of mine who said, fear is nothing more than believing in the worst case scenario happening. And worry is constantly reminding yourself that the worst case scenario is going to happen.
Plan for it too. That's not a good deal.
Why? Yeah, it never works out. So if you do, follow, I hate to sound so trite, but follow your bliss, follow your excitement, follow your passion, follow your gut instincts in the moment to the best of your ability with the highest level of vibrational, emotional state you could be in, you can't go wrong because the breadcrumbs keep forming in front of you on that path. It's just you're very, very supported. So to get back to that question, how do I gain back my memories? There are many paths up the same mountain. We're all going up that same mountain, but I find a way to relax and shut the world out for a while and just be at peace. And there are just many ways. So, but once you do, there's lots of spaciousness for that data to come back in, and it will. It absolutely will.
Absolutely.
Nicole, I don't fear other than snakes. Yeah.
Nicole, I just had an encounter with a snake again today, so I feel you, sister. I love all beings, but when they surprise me, when I don't expect them to be there, and they're kind of scary, I jump back. But
that seems logical.
Yeah. I think it's probably
Yeah, I've developed
A
a
good
healthy
thing.
respect. Yeah.
yes. I do have a healthy respect for
Yes.
the snake.
Okay, here's another good question, which I wanted to ask, but we've been, having so much fun. It slipped by me. Penny Coons is asking, I was wondering what Deb's parents feel about your path. I mean, did they have experiences as well? I mean, you mentioned a little bit of this already.
Yeah, my parents, it's interesting. As I get older, my parents both have crossed over, and I helped both of them cross over. So that was a beautiful experience. Hard, but beautiful. But what I will say is my mother, to almost the end of her life, was a very strict religious person and did not waver from that, did not want, she lived in because her religion was kind of fear-based and saying, if you don't do thus and so, you're going to go to hell and all that. So she did not want to go there. But you know what she wanted to be before she got married and had babies right away? She wanted to be an astrophysicist.
That's cool.
So she
Yeah.
still had this, this questioning mind. She was very scientific. She's brilliant. Both my parents were really smart. But on the other hand, it didn't cross over to her until right before she passed away. And that was a beautiful thing to see, that her mind kind of blossomed and opened up, and she accepted who I was and what I was doing at that time. My dad, who lived about 10 years longer than she did, he just really didn't care about any of that stuff. He just didn't care about it. He was religious, very religious, but he did not, I was not judged for what I do or what I teach, but they didn't ever want to talk about it. But he was terminally ill. It was a very short terminal illness, and I was with him the whole time. And towards the very end, several days before he passed away, I had brought all of my sound healing tools. I brought my drum, I brought my tuning forks, a singing bowl, things like that I could bring with playing. And I said, Dad, would you like me to play my drum for you for a little bit and chant? And he said, whatever. I said, it's like praying, right? And so it'll relax you. And so I was playing my drum and I was doing energy work with him. And I did it for quite a long time. And I was getting tired. It was in the middle of the night and I thought he had fallen asleep. And so I put my drum down and I was sitting by his bed, kind of nodding off. And he said, could you please give me some more of that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept it up for a long, long time. And towards the end of that night, the early morning, the room lit up. I was very tired. The room lit up. And at the end of the bed was a huge angel. And I think it was Michael, Archangel Michael. And I was just in awe. And I saw him reaching out like this to my dad. And I looked at my dad, who seemed to be asleep, thankfully, but he was having the death rattle and all that. And, but I was just filled with so much love and support. And then after that, it faded away. Dad's eyes popped open and he said, did you see that big angel? And I said, I did, Dad. And he said, well, Mom was right there with that angel and they're ready to help me go. And those were the last words he said. And then he passed away later that morning. So that was really something. Wow. So my parents, at first when I was a kid, they thought I was really creative and had a good imagination. Then they were a little bit embarrassed because I kept getting sent home from school,
No. Really?
And I was so timid. I was like really introverted, I said, but like I got sent home one time for drawing a picture. We were supposed to draw a picture of Christ on the cross or something, for Easter. And mine had, a UFO in the background and there were some little beings waving and, all that. And I got sent home for that. And so my parents were very upset.
That would upset me.
I got in trouble in grade school for writing stories that were a little bit towards that direction.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So anyway, they did not look kindly on that kind of thing. They just basically wanted me to shut it down. So, but that's to answer that question. But now in meditation and in OBE, they're all about it. I just want to tell the person who asked that question, my parents and I are so tight, and they are very supportive.
I was with both my parents when they passed. I took care of them also. And my mother had a long illness, and it was pretty hard on her. And after she passed, I didn't see her for a couple of months. Literally nothing. No, I would see her sitting in a chair, but I couldn't go to her at all. And she wouldn't look at me. And I thought, oh, okay. Yeah. And she eventually showed up, and she had a baby in her arms. And I knew who it was. I lost a baby.
Yeah. Oh, Dolly.
I was like, thank God you got her. I'm okay now, right? I was good with that. And I waited and waited, and we finally had a conversation about 6 months ago. My mother passed in 2018, and I'm like, okay, are we all right now? Can we talk?
Yeah,
we're doing that. My daughter's like, did you see her this week? And I'm like, yes. She had the same experience. She's coming to both of us back and forth, boom, boom. My dad was advanced, extremely advanced. And the last couple of days of his life, he said, I need you to make phone calls for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm there. And the last 2 nights of his life, we were calling everybody he loved and having conversations.
Oh, yes.
Talk through the night. My mom got so tired, she fell with, like, you're on it. I'm sleeping now.
Yeah.
And she slept the whole night through. The last night he was with us, and he just wouldn't shut up. He was talking. And he said, am I tiring you? And I went, no, every word you speak to me right now is important. He said, okay.
Wow.
And then I'm a nurse, so I had him hospice at home.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's what we did too.
Called the ball. And but the nurse who bathed him for me came in the next morning, and she looked at me, and I said, we're waiting. And she looked at him and she said, do you want a bath? He could barely communicate. He said, yes. And I left the room, and I could hear him groaning in happiness that he was getting a bath. And when I came back in the room, he was all tucked in and he looked so good. And I turned around and said, you need to come in the room right now. And she said, now? And I said, now. Because I could see him, bound up beyond his body. And he had this big dopey grin on his face. Okay, like he was so happy. Yeah. Buddha boy, okay? And I put my stethoscope on, and I listened, and I knew it was any second. And I put it on her, my mom. I said, you need to hear his last heartbeat. And she listened for his very last heartbeat. Oh, when he left, I saw him standing to my left behind me. And he's grinning, that stupid same goofy grin. I said, mwah, like that.
Oh, wow.
Gone. He's gone. And I was like, oh my God. And it was a whole series of events after that, but he showed up twice again. The next night, he woke me up in the middle of the night, standing in my doorway, all alone. And he said, I'm going walkabout. And I said, okay. He said, I don't know when I'll be back, but if you need me, I'll be here. I said, okay. Wow. And he said, take care of your mother. And I said, yes.
Wow.
And he left her a surprise. I don't know how he did it. Honest to God, he used to love cheese crackers. There were none in the house. None. Nowhere. Nothing. Nada. Okay.
Wow.
And I got up the next morning, and my mom's bawling in the bedroom with something in her hand. I said, what's wrong? And she said, look, he left crackers right next to the bed on the floor. And I just lost it at that point. I was like, oh,
wow.
Okay. Thank you.
There's so much proof of life after death. People have
There is.
They just have no idea.
I know.
Wow.
He died January 2nd, 2014. Wow. My mother was passing at exactly the same time 4 years later, 2018. And she said, you have to keep me alive 2 days past, because I will not pass on the same day as him. I said, Mom, you're in pain. I don't know if I can do that. And she said, you have to. And I'm like, okay, whatever you want. I'll it's your death. You get to do it whatever way you want to do it. And she sort of went into a coma, and she stayed into a coma until the day after he passed. And she came to and she said, when is it? And I said, you passed it. And that's when she actively started passing at that point. And luckily my brother was there, and my daughter and everybody in the family was there for my mom.
Amazing.
Very cosmic.
That is.
Yeah. And it just blew me away. It's like, how does that happen? 4 years, same exact thing. And she said, I don't want the grave marker to say same day, different days. But don't do that. I'm like, it's not me, it's all you.
Cool, actually.
we yogis call that Maha Samadhi, when you choose when to leave.
Right.
And it happens more often than people know.
Yeah. My father was very skeptical of all of this stuff. But after he passed, we were going through his things. He had circled the day he died. There's no way that this can be. I'll never forget it. We're all looking at, even my brother who was skeptical, he's like, look, Preston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Put it on his calendar.
Yeah. When
he had lung cancer and was, ill. He had no idea when he was going to pass.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He's just pointing it to you.
I have a question for you. This is personal for me. Today is the anniversary of my last life when I died, August the 5th. And I remember it vividly, remember when I died. I remember how I died. I remember who I was. I know exactly who I was. And it's weird because it's a synchronicity for me, because I died on 8/5 and I was born 5/8.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought I'm reminding myself. That's
yeah. I call those spiritual Post-it notes. So, we all have timing mechanisms for waking up in this life again and again and again and more and more and more. But we get a lot of help, especially in this particular incarnation, from those spiritual Post-it notes.
Oh, yeah. I've noticed that. There's lots of them too.
All the time.
Sure.
And the reason why I think that, I'm just going to say this out loud, and the teachers have always said this particular lifetime, this timeline, this incarnation is the one where humankind makes that big leap past the third dimensional dualistic tar pit existence and moves up a notch to, what you would call the ascension to the next dimension or frequency. But they say it's this one. And that's why everything seems so chaotic and crazy, because it's starting to fall apart. The construct's falling apart, so that we can make that room to shine in that higher way.
Can I tell you a secret?
Absolutely.
One of the things that I know for a fact is that you're correct. This is all ending here.
Yeah.
And some will live on past this moment, and some will move into the next realm. Okay. Those who live are going to another place, a physical new place, and they will be facilitated. ET will be coming to get them. Okay. But we have a lot to go through to get to that point.
Absolutely.
And it is amazing to me. And when people say, how do I prepare for this? And it's like, heal yourself. It's time for you to do you. Yeah. You can still help others, but you can't help them now until you help yourself first.
You have to be the best you can be. That's what they say.
That's right.
And you're going to be all right no matter what, because we're immortal.
Exactly right. Because there's joy coming no matter what we say. Joy is coming, because we do not die. We do not.
I want to bring a picture up, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the important work you're doing here.
Oh yes, that's a CE5 at a retreat that we do every year up in northern Wisconsin. It always sells out. This one has sold out as well. It's happening the first weekend of September, or the first week of September. But we are preparing to do a sky watch. But we do it in such a way, like during the day, we practice yoga, we practice breath work, we practice mantra, sound technology. We do all sorts of things to get very coherent, we call it heart coherence, the group itself in a specific vibration that is high enough to match the vibration of the ETs or the other beings who want to, communicate with us. And it is the most spectacular thing. Every year we have the best contact with ETs. We have a couple of videographers who capture tons of footage of ships, of beings. One year we had a complete wall of mist. It looked like a wall of mist all around us, created a dome. And that's when I started doing that channeling. And he has pictures of it, and he even has pictures with infrared and with night vision and all this different views of it. We have contact with Sasquatch beings.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. And every year about this time, right before it starts, I have two things happen. Number one, I always get a lot of interference from what one would call men in black type people.
Yep.
Which is probably why my microphone didn't work tonight. Just saying. But also, I start having very deep out-of-body experiences with the beings. So the last 4 nights, I have had experiences with different forms of ET, all kinds, all night long, and in my meditation. And last night, early this morning, that there were Sasquatch beings coming in and just like materializing, and which is what they do. They're interdimensional beings.
They're very advanced with that. People
Very.
don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so
I think
amazing.
everyone's starting to circle us. We've started doing something in our yard, and I think we're disrupting something.
Oh,
We have cameras, okay, and they alert. They turn on. They start
Yes.
recording with any movement at all whatsoever. And I'm starting to see it at 2:00 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, and it's like last week. It's boom, boom, boom. We're being hit, and it's nobody physical coming around that we know or anything like that. No humans.
Turn invisible. I know it sounds
No,
crazy.
I'm seeing the shadows of something, and it's like they know that camera's there and they're avoiding it the best they can, but it's still being the motion of it is clicking.
Yeah.
And then at night, every now and then, I can hear everything out the bedroom window. Okay,
Yeah.
everything. I really don't sleep.
yeah, I don't sleep much
I know
either.
when the bears are out there. I know when the coyotes are out there. And lately, I'm hearing not those. And I know it's not a human being, and I'm thinking, wow, I think they're hanging, and they're like going over and looking what we're doing. And I'm like, it's going to be a party one night, I swear. I'm not kidding
Oh, yeah.
you. Like,
No, it will.
Yeah.
Last year, we definitely had a lot of them. And I had some very unusual beings that's maybe for another show because it's too long a story to tell at this late time. But
We have 5 minutes, by the way.
yeah, they looked like the people in our party, in our group when we took a break, but they were like cardboard cutouts of the people.
Huh.
And I always take a walk in the woods to see if I can see a Sasquatch or other, little fairies or whatever. And I saw a bunch of my group over here and looking at the woods over here. And I walked up to them and one turned and went,
Ooh.
And so I stood there for a long time. And then I thought, there's something weird about this. And then I looked again and they weren't alive. They were like cardboard cutouts or facsimiles. And I went back to the group or back to our circle, and everybody had been waiting on me for a long time. They're like, where were you? They didn't even see me over there. It was really strange. So
You got to be careful now. I'm going to give you some information that you need to heed, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All of us, like you and me, we are now under surveillance. Okay. In the strictest possible way.
I have been for a long time.
Yes,
I
so
know it. Yeah.
And they have developed new ways of getting at us and playing with us. So be careful, okay?
Yeah.
Just realize it. And all I do is I just mentally send them a message. They don't even realize they're hitting it. You're not really okay here. You need to go.
I usually just send love. I send
And I do
unconditional
that
love.
too. It's like a mama puts your baby toward the door. It's okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
They're not resonant with it yet, so they kind of move off. Either that or they change, they shift, and then they're okay.
Leave
But
us
no, I've had some really some other day. We'll talk about the Men in Black stuff because it's.
Yeah.
I just use that as a general.
We probably have
what
some
I'm saying.
stuff going on. Exactly. I know.
Well, we're down to the last 3 minutes, so
Yeah.
we're going to have to be
Yes, sir.
start wrapping it up. But do you have any last messages you want to give to our listening audience? Oh, here's you with Whitley Strieber.
I love this picture.
I
Adorable.
had to bring this up.
Whitley, if you're watching, oh,
Love you so much, Whit.
yeah.
And he has a brand new book out of his poetry. It's the only one he's ever going to do. He says.
Oh, wow.
I had the great pleasure of hearing him recite some of his haikus from memory the night after we filmed his piece, and his poetry is wonderful. So get it. But a message to the listeners, to the viewers, all you beautiful people. stay out of fear. There is nothing to fear. This is a big psychodrama, basically, where it's a play. We're all playing parts. It's just a tiny piece of your existence. Go within as much as you can and do what you can to, some of the things we were talking about earlier, to feel good, to be good, be the best you can be of service to others, and love, love, love. Just keep loving no matter what, and love yourself, because that's really all there is in life. Life is about love. It really is.
I love that. Love yourself. It's important as loving others.
It really is.
Yes, absolutely. You're part of the whole thing. You deserve it.
Absolutely.
Well, that was awesome. Yes, can we please have you back?
Yes.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. I would love it. I Big hugs to all of you.
Okay.
But love you both so much. And the work that you're doing is so important. Please don't stop.
Thank you. I needed to hear that today. Thank you. I really did. No kidding.
I mean it, my dear. And if you ever need to talk, just hit me up.
Thank you.
Sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but you guys in chat were awesome. Thank you. Namaste again. All you guys who donated the super chats, it means a lot. It helps us immensely. So thank you, Star Orchid and Susan and Dana Matthews and Science Bob. We love you so much. Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Love you guys.
Thank you, Debz.
In Lakesh, I'm another you.
Ooh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, everybody, this is the end of our August 5th edition of a Monday, The Light Gate. We came to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We love you. Please take your best self forward from this moment forward. And remember, love makes love. Love is love. Love is everything and everyone. And go in peace. We love you. Night night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.